Welcome back to this lesson. So go back to the code. Remember, we've created these two methods in the previous two lessons. You should view those first. But now let's make an observation. Like you see, this stuff right here repeats, right? It's here, and then also it's here. Now you can really leave it this way if you wanted to. It's not a big deal. But maybe you don't. In other words, can we centralize some of this? Well, we can. This is what we can do. Go and then click the following down below. Private. I typed that in. Private, and then think about double try parse. So the first one returns a boolean, the second one returns a boolean, and then also the R1 is a double and the R2 is a double. So what we can do is type private and then BOOL. That will stand for the result of you doing the operation of checking whether the numbers or inputs are convertible to numerical form. Comma, we call this a tuple, and then double, and then comma, and then double. So give it a name, because this thing does a whole bunch of stuff. We're just going to call it process input here, okay? That's the name of our method. Add a set of curly braces. Now, this is what we're going to do. So bool first, and this will just be basically representative of the result of running this first method. The bool double try parse, the first one. So take that, Control C, and then paste it down below here. Terminate that with a semicolon. So try parse returns a boolean data type, and also when possible it sets the value of R1, right? Okay, so bool and then second. So double that again, try parse with the txt second. I'll just type it the text, right? And then out double R2 again. So this try parse returns a boolean. So you can save it to the boolean data type right here, named second, that variable. And then now we need to operate on a result. In other words, the only time we do anything is if both of those are true. So you have to say BOL, and then we'll just say, call it S, just a name, and then first and second this way. So first is a Boolean type, second is a Boolean type, so you can operate on them with the logical AND operator there. Okay, and that's going to return a true or false value. So true will mean that both of the inputs have been processed successfully. And then also, we can type return, and then on the bottom type S, which is the Boolean result, comma, R1, and then R2, and then terminate with a semicolon. So this is how you can make use of what we call a tuple. You specify the data type up there, Boolean double double. That's the data type of each member of the tuple, and on the bottom when you return it in this form within parentheses S, R1, and R2. Now the question is, how do you make use of this? So the method is called process input, and it returns a tuple, correct? You have to be able to access the members of the tuple somehow. Again, they're members, which means members would be accessed by typing the name of an object and a period, because periods are used for member access in C# and Java and so on. So that means over here, this is what we're going to do. Just type this, for example, var inputs, and then just type process input, and then terminate with a semicolon. We mouse over inputs. Look, it says it's a local variable, and it's got a boolean, a double, and a double. It's made of those. So you just have to access each member now that we have there. A way to do this is as follows. Just get rid of all of this. We don't need this anymore. And here, all you really need to do is just remember that S here down below in the body of process input, that's a Boolean data type, which means you can use it to make decisions up here. So you can say if inputs.item1. That's how you refer to it, item 1, you see? You can get it that way. Put your mouse over item 1, that is a Boolean data type, correct? That's all. That means you can make decisions with it. Once you've done that, assuming that item 1 represents true overall, in other words, both inputs have been converted successfully, then come back down to here, and then where it says R1, just type this instead, inputs, and then item 2, and then you're going to subtract from it inputs, and then dot item 2, also, well, let's see, 3 actually, right? Like that. So go back down below. Remember the following. S stands for the Boolean data type. R1 stands for what's coming from the first box from the left, and R2 is what stands for what's coming from the second box from the left, right, on the form here. So this would be like from R1, this would be R2 here. So just keep that in mind. We have to know this so we get the correct order of things. That's why I've written here inputs at item 2 and inputs at item basically 3, and then just capitalize this and likewise capitalize this. So it's member access. The name of your variable, and then to access a particular value stored in there, period, and then the name of the object, like item 2, item 3, and so on. And then we can do the actual operation in here. So inputs that item 2 minus inputs that item 3. Okay, let me make this a bit smaller. There you go, that's all the code. So that's how you can centralize some of this processing if you want to do it or not. Somewhat subjective sometimes. Let's see whether this will work. So I've just done this to the subtract method only. Let's see what happens. Run this, start without debugging. Let this surface. So let's see, 2 and then 3 and then hit subtract. So it gives a nice output of -1. When you add, that's 2 plus 3 is 5. That hasn't changed. Same thing then very likely we should do with this method up here. So let me just delete this. And let's clean it up a little bit. So these are examples of using tuples. So you're going to type again. Let's get the result of running process inputs. So var inputs and then process input. Okay, terminate with a semicolon, and then we'll say here if inputs that item 1, that's a Boolean data type there, so it's okay. And then just go through that. So here instead of R1 now we'll just say inputs that item 2 plus inputs that item 3. Those are the numbers, right? Then you can, for example, type inputs that item 2 plus inputs that item 3. So the code looks like that. Is it cleaner? Seems a little bit cleaner, right? And then this has been centralized down to this private method below. Anyway, let's run it, make sure that it's still working. Or with the debugging controller 5, 2. So put that in there, 2, 5. And add, okay, that's 7 still, nothing broken. -2 plus, say, -5. That's -7, that's correct. Okay, subtract -2 minus a -5. That would be -2 plus 5, which would be a +3. It's working correctly. Let's shut this down, shut this down. There you go. This is how you can centralize some code and then use tuples along the way in a somewhat practical context. Please like this video. I'll see you in the next one.